Hi everyone, this is Margaret Manning with 60 and Me. This is the place where women over 60 come to be inspired. My guest today is Jane Archer. Jane is an award-winning travel or cruise journalist, and she lives in the UK and writes for the Daily Telegraph and other cruise publications. And she's here to talk to us from her personal experience about cruising. Hi Jane, welcome.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's wonderful to have you. So, cruising. You've obviously had a lot of experience. Just to set you up, I think you say you cruise about 150 days out of each year.
Absolutely, yes.
And you've been everywhere from, Antarctica to Australia?
Yes, Antarctica to Australia to the Arctic. Just about everywhere you can think of, I think I've been there.
Well, this gives you very good experience and guidance for us. Now, a lot of women in the 60 and Me community love cruising, and they may have done a couple of cruises. But there's a very good number who, us 60-year-old women are quite bohemian and adventurous. And after our families have, moved on and having children of their own, and our jobs are perhaps coming to an end, we want a bit of adventure in our lives. And we look for cruises that are, just a little bit more dynamic and unique. So I'd love you to share with us some of the cruises that you might recommend for, a dynamic, adventurous kind of older woman.
Oh, I'd be delighted. One of the main things people think about cruising is, oh gosh, it's so boring. People who've never been on a cruise or researched cruising, and they all think that it's all the same thing, going around the Mediterranean, going around the Baltic, and there are so many other exciting cruises out there. So just to tell you some of the ones that I've done, I've been in Antarctica. So, you go across Drake Passage. I mean, it's just such an experience to go across Drake Passage. And once you get to Antarctica, as long as you're on the right ship, you must choose the right ship. It must be a ship that holds fewer than 500 passengers. And preferably you want one that is quite a few less than that. I would recommend about 200 at the most. Okay. Because you can only go ashore with Zodiacs. And those are like little inflatable boats. So you've got to be able also to be quite mobile. You've got to be able to get, obviously, from your ship into the Zodiac. And once you get ashore, you've got to be able to get out of the Zodiac, which is even more tricky, to be honest. And once you're there, you go ashore, you're walking on the snow, you're walking on the ice, you're walking amongst the penguins. And it is a really, really fascinating and fantastic experience. Wow. And if you're sort of one of the older people, it doesn't really matter as long as you've got the mobility. That's the important thing. And as you will love it. Absolutely, you will love it. You've got to have an adventurous spirit. It's no good going there if you're expecting that it's 4:00 and I'm going to have my afternoon tea and it's 6:30. I want to sit down to dinner now or whatever. It's not going to suit. But if you've got an adventurous spirit and you want to see something just very, very different, that's a wonderful cruise to do.
Antarctica, for sure, for me, sometime in the future. So what about something a bit more, a little more tropical or a little warmer?
A little warmer. I was just going to say, let's go somewhere warmer.
Yes.
The Galapagos. So I've been to the Galapagos twice, and it's the same, but without the snow and the ice and the cold. So it's a warm climate. Obviously, it is on the equator after all, more or less.
Yes.
And again, you will go ashore in these Zodiacs. Again, you need the mobility to get in and out of the Zodiac. And once ashore, you're walking amongst some amazing animals. And of course, as everyone I'm sure will have heard, these animals are not scared of humans. So you are right up close to them. It is an incredible experience. Close to birds, like you just cannot believe that you could get that close to them. Marine iguanas, you just step ashore, and there's a whole bunch, I don't know what they're called, of marine iguanas, and they just sit there. They don't run, they just sit there and they look at you. And sea lions, I mean, I was there last year, and we were standing talking to the guide who was with us, because you have to have a guide when you go ashore. So you learn all about the animals and you learn all about the geography about the place, and it's fascinating. And we were there, he was explaining something, and all of a sudden out of the water pops this sea lion and just walked straight in between us, and stopped.
Photobombed your way.
Yeah, he really was. And he just sat there looking absolutely majestic whilst we took all of these pictures. It was just a phenomenal experience. It really was, and of course you've got the giant tortoises as well. So you go inland a
Yes.
bit and you can see the giant tortoises. So a fascinating experience,
I can
absolutely amazing.
I can see why you do what you do though, because you've just lit up with your stories. It's great, and I think what's really cool is that I can imagine the other people on these cruises are like you. I mean, they're people that it's a big lifetime experience for them to be there. They're super excited, and they're on a learning adventure. So you meet
Absolutely.
great people too.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the really nice thing about it. I mean, to be really, really honest, brutally honest, and I'm sure that these are expensive.
Yes.
These cruises don't come cheap. So you haven't gone on this cruise on the off chance that it might be quite nice. You have gone there because it is the trip of a lifetime. So
Yes.
everybody is like you say, they're like me. They're really excited to be going ashore, to be learning, to be close to the animals or
Yes.
whatever it is that you're doing.
Yes.
I mean, honestly, I can get really excited about being close to an iceberg. I mean, that is such an experience. Like you would not believe being up close to an iceberg that is as big as a house,
Yeah.
which is what you get if you go to Greenland. It's just absolutely
Yes.
astonishing to see these things
Yes.
yourself in real life. It's amazing.
Those are things you just don't forget. I mean, those are memories that stay with you forever.
They
But
do,
but what
yes.
about a little bit calmer activity, like a river cruise? In Southeast Asia, like in China, or I think there's a Mekong river cruise,
Yes, yes.
something
Well,
like
yes. You
that.
don't have to do absolutely the extreme stuff to have an adventure. So yeah, I was on the Mekong in August. Now this actually comes through Cambodia and Vietnam. I mean, properly actually, you start off on the Tonle Sap River. They call it the Mekong cruise. You start actually on the Tonle Sap River from coming if you're coming through from Siem Reap in Cambodia. You join the Mekong in Phnom Penh. But it's an incredible experience again because you are visiting places and villages and seeing life as it really is
Yeah.
in these. I mean, obviously Siem Reap has Angkor Wat, and everybody knows Angkor Wat.
Yes.
It's a big attraction.
Shrine.
But then you go to some of these tiny little villages where you are such an oddity because they are not used to seeing
Yes.
Westerners coming, and you're seeing how they live and hearing about their lives, and it is quite fascinating. And you get
Yes.
to go on rickshaws, and you can climb if you want to. You can go crawling through the tunnels that were there during
The
the
war.
Vietnam War,
Yes.
where the Viet Cong hid out, and it's as I say, it's an experience that you are not going to get anywhere else. It really is.
Wow, those are three great ideas, but I've got one more I want to you share with us because I have a passion for India. I love India myself. I've been there many, many times, and I understand that you just got back from a trip up the Ganges, and
Yes.
that would be an adventure that I would love. But tell me
It
about
was
that.
that was
Yeah.
brilliant, absolutely amazing. I mean, again, it is so different to our lives, and you are seeing places that again you're meeting people and mixing with local people who are not used to seeing Westerners. I don't know how many times I had my photograph taken, and it's because they just love to see the white skin.
Yes, and the blonde
Um,
hair.
it's just absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
So you walk down a street and two lads will be walking down and they'll just stop and you can see them talk to each other, dare we? And then they come back and they say, can we have our picture taken with you?
Yes.
So
Yes.
you pose with one of them and then they swap and you pose with the other one. And there's nothing in it at all. All they just want is to have this
Yeah.
picture. And it's quite a stunning experience. But the highlight, I have to say, of that cruise was going and seeing where they have the Hare Krishna temple.
Mm.
And now that really took me back to the 60s. I don't think I've seen any Hare Krishna Krishnas for
Um,
an awfully long time. But I can sort of vaguely remember it, I think, from when I was very, very young in
just
London.
a baby.
And and there it is. It's
Yeah.
it's on the banks of the Ganges, and they're all going around in their white robes and singing Hare Krishna and sort of trying to encourage you to become part of it. And I have to say, I've never seen so many happy faces.
Yeah.
They were singing and they were lost in the whole experience. It was
Wow.
absolutely wonderful.
That sounds great. Did you start at the top, at the source of the Ganges, up in, I don't know what the names of the cities are, but like at the very northern part, or were you
No,
mostly in
no,
the
this
south?
one actually started in Kolkata,
Uh-huh.
which again was an experience in itself.
Yes.
So obviously because it goes from Kolkata up to a place called Murshidabad and then back down to Kolkata. So you can have time in Kolkata and get to know that city as well. And that's really a bizarre place as well. It's
It
got the
is.
only tram that operates in India, which the British left there.
Yes.
And you know, it doesn't really quite operate as trams ought to, you know, because trams are supposed to have their own rails and nobody's supposed to get in the way, but that doesn't happen in India. So
No.
there's cars in the way, there's people in the way, but they go along clank clank, ring ring, and along. It is such a fun experience, and of course you're seeing all the colonial buildings as well.
And you see, this is why I love train travel and ocean river travel better than flying to places, because you get to see and experience that, the people, the culture, and it just has a different impact on you. It stays with you longer. It's
Oh, it's
great.
something you're never going to
Yeah.
forget. I mean, on the subject of India, just very, very briefly, I've also done a cruise on the Brahmaputra, which is in India, and that feeds down eventually down into the Ganges. It comes out of the
Hmm.
Himalayas and then down into the Ganges. And
Right.
again, another amazing experience. Again, visiting places that you've never heard of, these tiny little villages where they don't even have electric,
Yes.
but they've all got their mobile phones and they charge them through solar panels. I mean, it is
Yes.
quite extraordinary to go and see this, and again, exciting places that you're seeing, and also there you can do an elephant back ride in you know in sort of
Yes.
as dawn is rising, and see rhinos. So it is another really stunning experience. And I even saw a tiger on that trip as well.
Wow. Now, what you've described are four just amazing adventures. And I think that cruising, as you said at the beginning, you sometimes get this image of it being the stereotypical cruise is down, the Mediterranean, calm ocean, just one town to the next, or one city to the next. But it's really not just that. It can be
Oh,
as
it really is.
adventurous as you want it to be.
It really isn't. And that's why it's so
Yeah.
important to choose the right one. Choose the one that suits you. So if you want to do all those things that I've just been talking about, you really do not want to go on a 2 week cruise around the Mediterranean. That is fantastic for somebody who wants to go and see Rome, Florence, Monte Carlo, and all those other
Yes.
amazing places.
Yes. So have you written about all the cruises that you've just described? Would people be able to read them on your Telegraph page or?
Some of them, yes, I'm sure
Yes.
they will be up there. Yes,
Great. Well,
it's you
yeah.
just have to type it in, and I'm sure something will come up.
That's great. Well, we'll actually put what we can in the article so people can check it out because I'm sure I'm inspired. I'm sure you've inspired lots of women to give it a go.
Good.
So thank you so much, Jane. I really appreciate your time.
It's a pleasure.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.